This film begins by introducing a pretty girl named Shasha. Now she's on a plane, getting her things organized. She's struggling with a big suitcase, probably filled with stuff she's bringing back to her hometown. The suitcase is so heavy that she's having a hard time putting it in the overhead compartment. At that time, the flight attendant notices and offers to help. As they're lifting the suitcase, Shasha suddenly sees a man she knows. She looks embarrassed and tries to hide because it's her ex-boyfriend. After the plane landed, Shasha quickly went to her parents' house. She came back because she heard her dad was sick. But when she got there, her mom scolded her for not visiting home often. Shasha didn't want to make things worse, so she immediately talked to her dad and convinced him to go to the hospital for treatment. Then she decided to rest in her room. While there, she found a box with her old stuff and saw a CD. This reminded her of the surprise encounter with her ex on the plane. At that time, Shasha also recalled her memories from 2005, the year she started high school. It was a big step for her as she left her family and moved into a dormitory at one of her favorite schools in the city. Her whole family helped her settle into the dorm. When she arrived, she met a male student with a head injury. Without hesitation, Shasha offered him some tissue. The student took it silently and left. Little did she know that was the first time she met her ex. Soon after, the dorm guard led Shasha to her small room. Despite its size, she felt very happy. Being accepted into the school was like a dream come true for her. With excitement, Shasha started cleaning and organizing her new space to make it cozy. When she finished, she wanted to try on her new school uniform. But as she was about to change, some students barged into her room unexpectedly. The student who came into Shasha's room wasn't just looking for a place to hide. Turns out, he was running away from the school security guard. At that time, Shasha, not wanting any trouble, decided to leave and find some food, leaving the student behind. While she was in the hallway, she bumped into a teacher, worrying that the student might get caught. She hurried back to her room to check on him, but he seemed to have vanished. Surprisingly, when she got back to her room, she found out the student had been hiding there all along. That's when Shasha learned the student's name was Lee Run. He tried to get to know Shasha, but she was distant at first. Still, he persisted and gave her a Walkman with his signature. Even though she initially said no, Shasha eventually accepted it after Lee Run kept asking. This moment marked the beginning of their story. Long story short, school began. At first, Shasha struggled to adjust. Coming from a village, she found it hard to fit into the new school environment, which was very different. Even though she was considered smart in her village, the high school she attended wasn't like any ordinary one. It was the best school with incredibly talented and brilliant students, many of whom were smarter than her. Besides struggling with the tough academic standards, Shasha also found it hard to make friends because of her village background. One night, during heavy rain, she decided to leave the dormitory and take a walk. In the pouring rain, she danced to relieve her stress. While Shasha was dancing in the rain, she didn't notice Lee Run watching her from a distance, smiling. On the other hand, Lee Run, who was sitting in the record shop, decided to approach her and strike up a conversation. Even though Shasha was distant at first, Lee Run persisted and kept trying to talk to her. Eventually, he realized Shasha was feeling down, so he tried to cheer her up and offer some encouragement, which made her feel better. As a gesture of support, Lee Run gave Shasha his phone number. The next day, Shasha had a tough time in class again. Suddenly, a popular girl named Cece accused Shasha of stealing Lee Run's Walkman. It turned out Cece really liked Lee Run, but he always turned her down and instead showed interest in Shasha. Because of this jealousy, Cece accused Shasha of theft, causing the whole class to look down on her as a thief. At that time, Shasha could only stay silent and accept the accusation. Soon after, she ran out of the classroom in tears and decided to call Lee Run. A little while later, Lee Run arrived and picked her up. They went to a museum, a place Lee Run often goes to when he's feeling down. There, he tried to comfort Shasha, who was upset, and asked her why she was crying. Finally, Shasha told him that Cece had accused her of stealing the Walkman Lee Run had given her. Upon hearing this, Lee Run explained that the Walkman originally belonged to Cece and he had given it to Shasha. This revelation made Shasha angry because she ended up in trouble because of Lee Run. As an apology, Lee Run invited Shasha to eat at a Western restaurant. Hearing that, Shasha, who came from the village, couldn't refuse the invitation. When the school holidays finally came, Shasha went back home. But she didn't feel much love from her parents, especially because her mother was always strict and focused more on her younger brother. After the break was over, Shasha returned to the dormitory. Shortly after, Lee Run took her out to enjoy the snow, but Shasha remained silent and distant. Seeing her change in behavior, Lee Run asked what was wrong. With a heavy heart, Shasha explained that she came to the city only to study, and didn't want a closer relationship with him. Hearing this hurt his feelings and made him angry. Since that night, their relationship changed, and they both kept their distance. One morning, a beautiful girl named Sing Kian approached Shasha in front of class and invited her to her birthday party. Seeing a chance to make friends, Shasha happily accepted the invitation. On the night of the birthday party, Shasha attended but accidentally ran into Lee Run without exchanging any greetings. At that time, Cici, who was also there, seized the chance to embarrass Shasha once again. She took the gift Shasha brought for Sing Chan and declared it fake to everyone. Seeing Shasha humiliated, Lee Run stepped in to defend her. This only angered Cici more, and she questioned why Lee Run would want to date someone from a simple village like Shasha. Unexpectedly, Shasha grabbed Lee Run's hand and confessed that they were indeed dating. Then they left the party together. Outside, it was snowing heavily, and Shasha couldn't hold back her tears, feeling ashamed and worthless. But Lee Run patiently tried to comfort her. That night, they opened up to each other. There, Shasha admitted that she lacked confidence around friends who talked about expensive things because she came from a regular family. After hearing Shasha's story, Lee Run shared that everyone faces challenges, including him, despite coming from a wealthy family. Despite having all the luxuries, Lee Run felt lonely because he lost his mother, and his father was strict with him. However, he's grateful for being alive. Since that night, they've understood each other better and grown closer. Back in the present, Shasha was with her father at the hospital for his examination. After receiving the scan results, they took a taxi home. At that time, Shasha's mother complained about not having a car, despite Shasha earning a good salary working in the city. Upon hearing this, Shasha decided to take her brother to a car dealership to choose a car. But while looking at cars, she unexpectedly ran into Lee Run again, who had become a successful adult. Instead of having a romantic moment, Shasha felt angry because Lee Run assumed she couldn't afford the car. Later that night, Shasha's brother informed her that Lee Run had been waiting for her. This meeting brought back happy memories, especially from 2006 when they were together as a couple. They reminisced about a time when a pipe burst in their dorm, making all the rooms wet. Lee Run wanted Shasha to be comfortable, so he invited her to stay at a hotel. However, when they arrived, Cici saw them and took a photo. That night at the hotel, Shasha and Lee Run spent time together, sharing their dreams and hopes for the future. They talked about everything while enjoying the beautiful view from the top of the building. For Shasha, it was the most beautiful moment she had experienced. However, they didn't know it would be their last night together. The next morning, they were called to the teacher's room. Cici had reported to the teacher about the photo of Shasha and Lee Run in the hotel, making it seem like they had slept together. As a result, the teachers called their parents. This incident embarrassed Shasha's parents greatly. They decided to transfer her to another high school in the village because they believed Shasha had become a troublesome child after attending school in the city. On Shasha's first day at the village high school, everyone was talking about her because of rumors that she did something inappropriate with Lee Run. Even though she felt uneasy, Shasha tried to ignore the gossip and go about her day. After class, Lee Run showed up to apologize to Shasha for all the trouble and for ruining her dreams. At first, she was furious and didn't want to talk to him. But after hearing his explanation, she couldn't help but cry because she knew he was sincere. There, Shasha realized that Lee Run was going through tough times too, so they made up and decided not to give up. When she got home, Shasha talked to her parents. She calmly explained what really happened at the hotel, telling that she was innocent and didn't do anything wrong. She told them that the photo with Lee Run was taken by a friend trying to cause trouble. Shasha promised to excel in the upcoming exams and begged her parents to let her return to the city high school if she succeeded. Long story short, Shasha kept her promise and scored the highest grades in high school. Because of this, she was able to return to her old high school in the city. A few days later, Shasha went back to her old school. Cici, knowing this, tried to embarrass her again, but Shasha had changed. She decided not to stay silent anymore. After that incident, she didn't want to waste any opportunities. Before graduation, Shasha studied hard every day without stopping. She also kept in touch with Lee Run from time to time. One day, Shasha's homeroom teacher told her about scholarships to study in Singapore. The teacher said Sasha was a good student who could qualify for the scholarship. But after graduating, she would have to work in Singapore for 6 years. This made Sasha confused, so she turned to Lee Run for advice. Unfortunately, he was busy taking care of his sick grandfather at the time. Next, Sasha tried talking to her parents. However, instead of support, her mother got angry. She believed women shouldn't pursue higher education. Instead, she wanted Sasha to stay home and help her brother study. This angered Sasha a lot because she felt her mother didn't care about her education, despite being smart. Her mother's focus was always on her brother, and she never considered Sasha's wishes or dreams. To make matters worse, her mother even messed up Sasha's study table in anger. Seeing this, Sasha couldn't help but cry, feeling disappointed and let down by her family. Long story short, Lee Run was mourning the loss of his grandfather. Soon after, Sasha accompanied him to the funeral home. She wanted to talk about her problem with her mother, but seeing Lee Run's sadness, she decided not to burden him. Then, Lee Run took Sasha on a holiday to Nanjing. They enjoyed the beauty of the city, and for a moment, their sadness faded away. While on a boat ride, Lee Run mentioned that he already knew about Sasha's plans to study abroad. He wasn't upset about the plan itself, but rather because he didn't hear about it directly from her. Lee Run felt like he wasn't special to Sasha. She had wanted to tell him something, but he was feeling sad at the time. Even though it was hard for Lee Run to accept that Sasha was leaving, he understood how important it was for her to chase her dreams. In the end, he prayed for her and gave her his support. In the present, Lee Run and Sasha walked around the city together. They talked about their experiences and what they had been up to lately. The following day, Sasha and her family went to the hospital to learn about her dad's scan results. They were shocked to find out he had liver cancer and urgently needed a liver donor. Sasha was deeply saddened by this news. Seeing her upset, Lee Run immediately hugged and comforted her. At that time, Lee Run offered to help by introducing Sasha to his father's friend, who had a hospital with good facilities for her dad's treatment. With Lee Run's assistance, they managed to find a liver donor more easily. Sasha was touched by his sincerity in helping them. That night, Sasha and Lee Run shared their feelings and made a promise to support each other. The next day, Sasha's father asked her if she was happy now. He expressed regret for not giving her more freedom, but assured her of his pride in her and promised to always encourage her dreams. Sadly, shortly after, he passed away. Then, before Sasha left to go back to Singapore, her brother shared something surprising with her. He revealed that their mother was actually very proud of Sasha. She always kept up with news about Singapore and her accomplishments. She even quoted newspaper articles about her. Hearing this made Sasha realize how much her mother truly cared for her. She understood that her mother's tough teaching style was meant to help her develop a strong mindset. Before heading to the airport, Sasha had a meal with Lee Run. Although Lee Run didn't want her to leave, he knew she had dreams to pursue. He promised to wait for her and pick her up when she returned to China. As time passed, Sasha couldn't stop thinking about her moments with Lee Run while she was working. She worried she might regret not being with him, so she made a big decision. She quit her job and returned to China. When she landed at the airport, Lee Run was there, just like he promised. He asked why she came back so soon, and Sasha told him honestly that she couldn't imagine a future without him. In the end, they both chose to be together and live happily ever after. The film ends. The moral lesson from this film is sometimes, love is like a heavy suitcase. It was awkward, inconvenient, but totally worth the struggle to carry it through.